It is a wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show. You can get us on iTunes, you can get us on iHeart, you can get us at jeffdubay.com. Jeff Dubay, Scott Schweitz, Tony Dean, Jason McGovern talking Minnesota Wild hockey. We do it every Wednesday at 5 o'clock here at Burger Mo's. We're on West 7th. We're in the shadow of the Xcel Energy Center. Well, we would be if it was sunny out, but it's not anymore.
And if the sun went the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Just on West 7th, right in the heart of all the action. Burger Mo's, fantastic food. I've eaten here numerous times already this month, as my gut can attest to. The fare here is, as you would expect, burgers, fries, but done exceptionally well. And
60 beers on tap. Don't ever forget about that.
Who would ever want to forget about that? The week that was for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, just get my phone here. Kind of a strange week. A really nice road win in Philadelphia. Then they played awfully well in Tampa and wound up losing a game that it felt like a win for the first couple periods the way they were playing at Tampa, and then they have no trouble taking care of Florida to have a pretty nice little Eastern road swing. But the guy who's really jumping out at me, I mean, well, he's jumping out at everybody right now. Just can't get past, guys, how well Jason Zucker's playing. I mean, he might be the team MVP to this point.
It's pretty impressive where he came from, looking like he was on the outside, looking in Yo's system. It kind of looked like he would never get a fair shake here and possibly would end up getting moved. I mean, I think a lot of us believe that Jason Zucker could be trade bait both at the trading deadline last year and just in general, because you wonder if he was a guy that's going to play top 6 minutes. You wonder if he's a guy that's going to fit into Mike Yo's system, and if he's a guy that's ever going to be capable of playing defense in the National Hockey League and playing a two-way forward role, which obviously it's required on a Mike Yo, Mikko Koivu-led squad.
Well, exactly, but I think if you look into what Jason Zucker had, where he's come from, he was that flashy forward that I think would lead us to believe of why he needed to be a top 6 guy, but because there wasn't a seat for him on the bus, and he was sent back down to Iowa, I think he had to take a reevaluation to his game and realize that he had to play a two-way game to fit into Mike Yo's system, and I think he's earned everything that he has this year by being by showing up to camp without a chip on his shoulder and doing the right things by accepting whatever line he's been put on and playing it to the best of his abilities, and then earning additional opportunity and ice time, which has obviously led to to the goals that he's had.
Certainly a credit to him, though. You get a guy that's that physically gifted and he has that top end talent. There's no guarantee that he's going to find a way to humble himself, fit him into the system, have an opportunity like this, working his tail off from training camp. Now, it looks like the goal scorers on this team are going to be Jason Zucker and they're going to be Nino Niederreiter.
Well, it's the same thing as with Nino especially. We knew what we got with him. We did the trade. We knew he was a sniper. Jason Zucker we did as well, but obviously he had to modify his game in order to fit in the system. The thing I love about Jason is when he scores, the look on his face, it's just euphoria. I mean, he's so happy when he scores. It just is. I think it bleeds into the other people on the team.
Hey, one other thing I want to get to before we take our first break, and then we'll come back and look at the week that was game by game, and look ahead to the week that will be game by game. I watched a couple games more closely in this last road trip than I had previously, and you expect Bannock to be a shoot first guy. He's actually setting some nice things up right now. I mean, I see him coming up the wing, stopping at the half wall, waiting for the second wave of rush and hitting guys as they come up the slot. I mean, he's doing some things. He's not shooting, he's not scoring, but he's doing some things.
I get accused of being on the Vanek bandwagon for talking about the offense that he creates, but ultimately he's creating offense. He's still suffering from a terrible case of Mikko Koivu no shoot Ebola. You're not
tragic.
Seeing,
it is tragic.
You're not seeing goals from a guy that
it's a rare condition.
You paid this guy to score goals, and I get it. I think a lot of people talk about Vanek being streaky. A lot of people talk about Vanek scores when he's in the dirty areas and he's set up well. the thing about Vanek struggling, Vanek is, I think, still second on the team in points. He's creating offense from plays that you don't get really. A lot of what he's doing right now is being productive while, maybe not scoring goals, which is a thing that's going to drive fans crazy. I know it will.
Well, I would say that he was brought here to score goals, but he has morphed into more of a playmaker than he has a goal scorer. And considering he leads the team in assists, you can be upset he's not scoring goals. I will be the first to admit that I am one that was very frustrated of his lack of shooting. But if he continues to be a contributor and a positive contributor and not turn into just a one-dimensional player and have the turnovers that we've seen maybe in previous games, I think there's no problem with having him the way he plays.
Well, and I think we've talked about it all year, too, that Vanek is a little slower. I think when we picked him up, that we knew that he wasn't going to be this super fast goal scorer that he could have been as a younger guy, and he's going to have to adapt his game to that. Isn't that maybe what this kind of is? He's not going to be the shoot-first goal-scoring guy, but he's still getting other guys open and creating, and isn't that just as important?
And I would say he's not necessarily slow, but he's on a fast team, and he looks a little slow.
He looks slow compared to him.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, in the last game I watched, he had to get back, and it was like he was doing drills as a bantam. I mean, he was moving his arms. I mean, he was chugging down the ice, and it looked out of character for him. But it clearly, maybe a message was sent that said, hey, if you want to be part of this, and you need to act as the rest of the team does, and get back, do the back checking that a number of our forwards are doing that allows us to be the defensive, responsible team that we are. In addition to being, an offensive contributor.
A lot of my contention too is it's on Yo. It's on Yo to define these roles for the players. It's on Yo to take a guy like Vanek who, he's missing a step or two with his skating, so then he's not getting the same goal-scoring windows that he had as a younger player. Maybe he's not going to score as many goals handling the puck himself. But what you do is you adjust his role. You see how masterful he is with the puck, passing it to guys. He makes Kyle Brodziak look like a genius, giving him 2 tap-in goals. Yeah. So maybe you adjust his role and you make him a specialist type of position, probably not in the top 6.
It's a wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show. We'll be back to break down the week that was in 60.
Okay, last year, 2013, I lived just down the road, Pleasant Avenue, just a few blocks here from Uptown Pond, which is right on the corner of Lake and Pleasant. And, there are a couple of times, you just try to get to that next payday, maybe a couple of bucks short. If you've got some items, jewelry, diamonds, electronics, I mean, you come down here and they give you a fair price for it, and then you come back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever, you get it back at a real reasonable price.
So we're very competitive, we hope, on different angles, in different ends and different articles. Computers, electronics, TVs, jewelry. We buy, we give loans, and we also have emphasis on diamond jewelry too, that we also try and give credit for the best we can. We're specialists in that area also, so it's an all-round sort of combination.
Well, it's a great place. It's a nice, clean place with honest people, and I tell you what, it's got a real family feel to it. As a matter of fact, it's tied into Strauss family, and I go way back with the late, great Jerry. So, I mean, these are people I know and people I trust. You can find them on Twitter, too, by the way. They're at Uptown Pond, and also on Facebook, Uptown Pond, and uptownpond.net.
Hi, I'm Terry Daniel, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
All right, we're back at Burger
That
Mo's.
was the newest member of our team.
Terry
We have a
Daniel.
voiceover guy now.
Yeah, absolutely. He does liners and intros for the shows. Very professional. Well, he's been in the business forever, but he's dressing up our shows, making them sound like our actual radio type program.
Happy to have him.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Not to mention he was a guest on my show, a show that is I think still my most listened to episode.
That show got what did it get? 13, 14?
It was well over 2,000.
That was over 2?
Oh yeah,
wow.
yeah. It's well up there. It's well up there. So it's a wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show. We're live at Burger Mo's. Scott Schweitz, Tony Dean, Jeff Dubay, Jason McGovern. Hey, before we go game by game through Philly, Tampa, and Florida, how about the fact that a week ago we were talking about the goaltending a little in and out. Not this week. I mean, 3 games on the road, a total of 4 goals allowed. Game 1, Philadelphia, Kemper, 95%. Game 2, Kemper and Tampa, 93%. Florida, Backstrom, 97%. pretty impressive. So I mean, they're right around the 95 save percent for the week. Gave up 4 goals in 3 games.
Kemper made some amazing saves too. They came up short and point at the power play in that Tampa Bay game. Stamkos scores a power play goal. Minnesota Wild passes it around. Lots of fancy passes. No shots, no goals on the power play. They don't take advantage. Kemper gets the vote of confidence when you make a decisive decision on Josh Harding, which I don't think many people saw coming. I think the assumption was maybe Kemper struggles one more time, he gets sent to Iowa, and that didn't happen. When you empower a kid like this that can play at the top of the crease, who's got a big body, maybe his reflexes aren't like top notch, but he played really, really well in those games. And I thought that Nicholas Backstrom game against the Panthers, who, obviously they're a down in the dumps team. There was at least like 12 people at that game, that took the flight with the Minnesota Wild down there. So, maybe that's not a top level competition type of game, but Backstrom was really, really good in that game, and I think that Kemper and Backstrom have a good thing going, and they work well together. They complement each other.
I agree, and I think that eliminating Harding as a distraction from this team is positive, and getting him down to Iowa, and the fact that he's not on the ice, Kemper especially doesn't have to worry about am I going to be sent down? Is this guy going to take my spot, and so on. It really, really helped out his confidence. And I mean, if they can be a great tandem like this, where we've seen in the past, where if one guy goes down, the other one can fill in, and the team can still get the victory. I mean, that's a great thing for us as a team, because we have great defense, and now we have good goaltending. I wouldn't say it is elite, but it is good goaltending, and that's all you need if we could have a defensively responsible team. And now we're seeing the guys up front that are chipping in the goals.
Hey, we talk about Niederreiter and how great it is to see him score. I mean, 10 goals, leading the team in goals. He's got 13 points, has him second on the team in points, just a point behind Parisi. Is it strange at all that he and Brodziak, the only 2 forwards that are right now negative, the plus minus? I mean,
and Zucker is his.
Oh, is he?
Zucker.
Zucker, no, he's a plus 1. Zucker's a plus 1 right now.
Okay.
But Niederreiter's a -1, Brodziak's a -1. As far as the forwards go, that's it. I mean, you got a couple of D men that are negative. Dumba and Folan are negative, but right now it's as far as the forwards, Niederreiter and Brodziak.
You got to look at this though. I mean, doesn't Nino and Brodziak and even Zucker? I mean, they're playing the PK. So
but plus minus is only even strength, is it not?
I would think plus minus is just goals for versus goals against.
I thought it was.
I think it's only even strength. I thought that it was an even strength stat, but I could be wrong on that.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily sign up for the plus minus stat just because there's so many fluky aspects.
There's a lot of variables.
Now.
Absolutely.
But I think Niederreiter was playing. He was playing some third line. He was playing some fourth line. He kind of found himself in Yo's doghouse a little bit early. Haula wasn't playing very well to begin the year. Haula was out of the lineup for a little bit after taking that John Moore elbow, and I think Nino's role is different. A lot of what Niederreiter and Jason Zucker have going on for them right now is they're being empowered to be the scorers on a team that has many pass first players.
Who would you guys guess, just off the top of your head? Without cheating, who would you guess is leading this team in plus minus?
Leading the team plus minus, probably Parise.
He would be in a tie. Oh no, he's in second or third actually. There's a tie for first. They're both blue liners. Spurgeon.
Yeah.
Yep. Spurgeon and Suter.
My guy.
Yeah.
Spurgeon and Suter. They're leading the team right now. They are at plus. There was a plus 13, and then you got Parisi's a plus 8.
You know what? Why advanced statistics have become so powerful in trying to diagnose what's going good with a team, and a lot of the possession stats are directly attributed to limiting your opponent. So you get guys like Spurgeon, you get guys like Suter, you get guys like Parise and Granlund with Pominville in that top line, and maybe they don't score a ton of goals. Maybe they don't generate a bunch of shots. But what they're doing is they're eliminating the opponent's opportunities to score goals, to have offensive zone possession because they carry the puck well, they make good decisions, and they skate it out. And you look at Spurgeon, you look at Suter. A lot of fans kind of didn't know what to expect from Suter. Maybe they felt like he should, bang bodies more, or play a little bit sexier like Shea Weber does in Nashville. But Suter completely puts a wet blanket on the offense for the other team, and that translates in his advanced stats.
If we're going to go into fun stat talk, I just pulled up points, and probably a lot of Wild fans aren't going to be surprised at the fact that we have 3 defensemen, Ryan Suter, Jared Spurgeon, and Marco Scandella, all above Mikko Koivu in points. I mean, and that should say something right there. And right behind him is Matt Cook, who hasn't played the last 12 games.
Yep.
So Matt Cook has 6 points, Koivu has 7.
Yep.
And that right there should say something about Koivu's game.
Koivu also has one of the lowest shooting percentages on the team, by the way, at 3.4%.
Shocking.
He's the best at shooting into the
This
pads.
just in.
Not exactly a sniper. What do you look at guys who are snipers? Zucker's at 18%, Niederreiter's at 25%. No surprise there. Yeah, 25%. Pretty shocking. Matt Cook, by the way, was at 28% just through 8 games.
Well, if you look at from the top down, that's point leader. But if you're looking at goals too, the goals drop off significantly when you get past the first few. You got Niederreiter at 10, you got Parise and Zucker tied with 8. Then it drops.
Then you're down to what, 4?
So Pominville and Scandella at 4 each.
Yeah.
And then it drops down to Spurgeon and Brodziak. So once again, 2 defensemen in your top 6. There's 2 defensemen in your top 6 goals scored.
Yeah. And Wild fans get pump faked. So we get pump faked in, I think it was Philadelphia, right? Koivu doesn't play the third period. All over Twitter, Yo benches Koivu. And that is the narrative that a lot of Wild fans especially Wild fans that think that if you're the captain, you score the goals, you're the hero, that if you're not that guy, then Parise needs to be the captain.
Hey, but you know what? I don't care if he's not scoring the goals, but if he's not also setting up the goals that, I'm talking points. I'm not talking goals, because let's be honest. Besides his razzle-dazzle backhand shootout goal, he's not a goal scorer. He's a set-up guy. But the fact that his point totals are so glaring, that needs to say something. And the fact, come on. And I'll be the first to admit when he sat on the bench in the third period, I was happy. I'm like, finally some sort of message is being sent that if you're not doing something, you're sitting on the bench.
He seems so untouchable for so long.
And if it was illness, why are you on the bench? Why are you on the bench if you're sick?
Get out of there.
Because I don't think I would want a sick player to be hanging out with the rest of the guys, being the wall between my forwards and D.
Well, the convenient response to that was they thought the game might go to a shootout, and because the game was going to go to a shootout, you have Mikko Koivu's backhand. So that's why he sat on the bench. That's why he wasn't benched because of illness. But the reality of it is maybe
you can't get back out of the tunnel if you need him?
Or maybe you're not a primary distributor anymore. Maybe your playmaking is not working.
Then what is he?
Well, maybe he's a defensive center.
That's what he's always been. It's just more glaring now.
Sure.
It's just way more obvious.
Maybe somebody needs to intervene and have him play in the paint. If you're going to be the biggest center, if you're going to be the big, strong guy, if everybody's going to talk about how good and physical you are, maybe you park down in the paint and maybe you get a couple dirty goals and accomplish something.
Tough to totally change your game at his age, though, isn't it?
Or, you tell that guy. Somebody has to. You can't tiptoe around the issue. He's underproducing offensively. He hangs out on the sidewall. He turns over the puck a lot. He has it stripped from him, and it's not working.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the week that was, starting with the game in Philadelphia.
You've just deterred our Mikko Koivu rant at Bergamo.
Well, how much longer do we have to go?
We're rolling. It was feeling good.
Conspiracy theory.
So the Wild win 3-2 in Philadelphia, and you guys talked about you got to get out east and win because other teams in the West, they'll go out east and they'll get their points. So you got to keep pace in that regard. When it comes to the Philadelphia game, I look at this as a good example of once in a while you got to steal one, and to me they kind of stole one there. I thought they really had to hang on for the good 30 to 35 minutes to start this game. They really kind of.
Well, you can say we stole one there, but you can also say the following game that we probably should have won. So I mean, if you want, it equals out. We should have won the Tampa Bay game, and we lost the Philly game. So I mean, while it did happen in the correct games, the outcome was the same. I mean, we walked away with the same amount of points that we should have walked away with.
I agree. What did you make of the Philadelphia game, Tony?
You know, in Philadelphia, I think you're looking at a team that's beat up. You're looking at a team that's down. You know, same thing with the Florida game. I think you look at those ones as must-wins. I looked at the Tampa Bay game like a trap. You know, we beat up on them when they were injured here. They're a talented team. I still contend that that's one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And I was most impressed probably with the Tampa Bay game, the way that they played, the way that they responded, the way that we protected a little bit Darcy Kemper played good that game. You know, in Philadelphia, you always hope that they don't get beat up on. You know, I look at Philadelphia as a team that's going to take liberties. They're going to play a dirty brand of hockey. Who was it? It was Ronaldo running around taking liberties with people that game. I like to go on that road trip, get away from here, bring the family members, and come back with some wins. I appreciated that aspect of it.
Well, it was a nice road trip for the dads, and I guess it's been extended to dads and brothers now too, as I've kind of learned while watching FSN. And that was a nice road trip. It always is. I mean, you always hear great things from the dads, and they get to hang out and do activities and everything else. And so I mean, it is nice to have that kind of a road trip, and obviously you sprinkle in the fact that you had the fan road trip in the middle of it.
You know, I was just thumbing through the standings in the West. How surprised are you with Vancouver and Calgary right now? Vancouver's 15-6-1. How the hell is that possible?
You know, both those teams have.
They fired Tortorella? I don't know.
Both those teams have good young players. Both the young players on those teams are pretty good. You know, Sean Monahan is a guy that I picked up in fantasy hockey this year. I'm trying to do it seriously. Not that I'm very good at it, but because I usually don't see beyond my own nose or the Wild. Vancouver is another. Vancouver's another team I root against completely because of the relationship with Wild, and they have good young players. They weren't healthy. They got a new coach.
I guess I agree. I mean, I'm surprised to see Vancouver where they're at right now.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised to see Edmonton where they're at right now. I mean, Edmonton just continues to swirl the drain, and I don't know if they've already just given it up and are going after the top. Hopefully with the lottery. I mean, they're going to get the top draft pick again. But yeah, I mean, a couple of those surprised me, being that Vancouver and Calgary in the past few years have been poor. Now, looking at goaltending especially, that Vancouver is where they are after bringing in the goaltender they did.
You look at our division specifically, and the Wild, they're mired right now in fifth, right behind the Jets and the Blackhawks, but they do have games in hand on the teams in front of them. I mean, you got to make something happen when you play those games. But I mean, they're a point behind Winnipeg, and they played 3 fewer games. So in essence, they're ahead of Winnipeg. A point behind Chicago with 1 game in hand. So that's basically 6-1, half dozen of the other.
I'm not worried about Winnipeg, obviously, but I mean, the 3 above them, 2 of which don't surprise me, 1 does.
Yeah, the Predators.
The Predators are continuing to hold on at the top of the division. Actually, it looks like St. Louis has played 1 more game, so Nashville actually has a game in hand.
Yeah.
And that's why they're sitting at the top of the division.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens down the stretch. I mean, I think everything kind of evens out. Maybe not. I mean, maybe Pekkarini is the difference maker in that team.
You got to hand it to a team that could lose a guy like Suter and not miss a beat.
And get better, maybe.
That is such a sore spot for Nashville fans, just like Parise with Devils fans. But they get a kid like Seth Jones. He's good. They get the other kid playing with Weber. I can't think of his name right now. He's pretty good, and they're getting great production out of Philippe Forsberg, who was a top prospect, a highly thought of guy that Washington just gave up on for some reason, and they traded him for Martin Erat, who I think is in Arizona now. I think the Predators probably come back to earth. You know, they're one Pecorine injury away from being at the bottom of the division. The Wild's given away too many games this year, and they need to address the power play. If you have the man advantage and you are as bad as they are with the man advantage, you're going to lose more games than you're going to win.
Well, I mean, looking at if you want to continue to like pick apart the Nashville Predators, I mean, you got to remember they also brought in Neal from Pittsburgh, that everybody thought if he was pulled off the line with with Crosby and Malkin and all the rest of the top guys that he was going to fall, and he hasn't. But Pecorine, I mean, being 13-3-1, with a 1.93 goals against, that's an elite goaltender. I mean, that is a goaltender that is going to steal games for you, just like a Jonathan Quick will. We don't have that in Minnesota, so we have to win games a different way. They're going to be able to take advantage of a goaltender like that, with maybe not having all of the elements that they would need to win otherwise.
Looking at out east, since we're talking standings right now, not a ton of surprises out there. I know, Tony, you're a big Lightning pimp. I mean, they're right there on the tail of the Canadians in the Atlantic, just a couple points behind them. But Detroit just never goes away, do they? I mean, 11-5-5, 27 points in 21 games. Also up near the top of the Atlantic, right there neck and neck with Boston. That Atlantic is actually, I mean, we talk about the West having the bulk of the power in the National Hockey League, but that Atlantic division is no joke.
I mean, especially now with Tampa Bay. I mean, with Tampa Bay in the mix and Montreal stepping up, and with Detroit continuing, you're right, to stay around, perennial contenders, at least for playoffs. And then Boston, and after that, it does kind of, well, actually, maybe it doesn't. With Toronto and Ottawa still being really in the mix until you get down to a Florida and a Buffalo, that it falls off. But yeah, that's a tight division.
But the Metropolitan, conversely, the worst division in hockey, and it's not even close. Not even close. You got the Penguins, you got the Islanders, and then it's a bunch of garbage. Well, the Rangers are okay, but after that, it's really a struggle.
Sure, and out of that division, I kind of closet root for the Islanders just because.
Feel bad for them, or
they're just beat up on. They
got a lot of Gophers. They got a lot of our kids on that team.
They got a lot of Minnesota kids. Garth Snow's been very giving to us. Jared Spurgeon, Nita Ryder.
Yeah, just like a thank you. Is that what your
I think that's there's a lot of connections. Plus, you got to feel for that fan base. You know, they love being out there on Strong Island. It's a small market sort of fan base with regard to like Islanders or die, and now they're going to move to the Barclays Center, and they have an owner who is not necessarily a traditional hockey owner, and he's looking to sell. You know, it's a very Minnesota sort of situation where your team's like on the brink of doom, and you know, you live and die with them. You don't want them to leave.
Yeah, at least they have people come to the games. I mean, when you watch that road trip, I mean,
that
Florida's. I mean, that's embarrassing. Sure. You watch probably any Carolina game, that's embarrassing. I mean, as a player, I mean, granted, I never rose to the elite level, but I mean, I know how it felt to show up, to an arena that was empty and try to play and try to have some sort of like
energy and life. Yeah.
And when I looked around and there's nobody there, it's like, well, this sucks. I mean.
But these are pros. I mean, they got to just turn that off, don't they? I mean,
well, our tagline this year is home of the home ice advantage. If you have a crazy crowd, I mean, just like any sport out there, it's gonna energize you. And if you have nothing, if you look around and you have 6 fans, half of which are probably checking their phones, I mean, nobody cares about you. I mean, how would you love to go to that destination to play? Granted, it's Miami. I mean, it's not bad weather.
Life's not too rough.
No, but to play hockey there can't be the most fun.
Yeah, looking at the Islanders and look at some of the numbers they're putting up. I mean, the Minnesota kids making a big impact. I mean, you got right after Tavares, who leads the team with 20 points, you got Oposo and Brock Nelson, with 19 each, just a point behind him. So I mean, making big contributions. Nick Leddy with 9 points is the second leading scoring defenseman on the team behind Boychuk. I mean, the Minnesota kids, Anders Lee is getting nice time. He's played in 15 games.
Clutterbuck is killing it.
Well, he's not a Minnesota guy.
No, I know, but I'm just so glad to see him over there.
But that is there's quite a pipeline from here to there these days. Help me out with this. Is Aaron Ness no longer with the Islanders? I don't see the name.
Who?
Aaron Ness.
Aaron Ness is probably in Bridgeport, so that's their AHL affiliate.
Okay.
I think that they've drafted those kids and they fit that system. Brock Nelson He's a skilled kid, but he's also a rugged kid. You know, he'll bang some
Same with
bodies
Okposo.
around. Same with Okposo. And Okposo too is you know, he's playing with one of the best players, top 5 for me in hockey, in Tavares. And Tavares plays. He might be the best two-way center in the game. You know, a lot of people probably say Sidney Crosby. You might mention Malkin. But I'm a huge John Tavares fan. I think he does everything the right way. He doesn't have the douchiness of Sidney Crosby. You know, I think Okposo is another one too. Like, as he's gotten older, I think he's grown into more of a tolerable personality. You know, I think he took a lot of heat for the way he left the Gophers. I think he took a lot of heat for the way he conducted himself. You know, he played kind of with a chip on his shoulder. Very different type of personality, probably a little more, you know, introvert. So, you know, you don't become a fan favorite type of guy besides scoring the goals. I mean, you score goals, fans are going to love you.
Absolutely.
But that wasn't his choice. I mean, Tavares had no choice in leaving. Okposo had no choice in leaving.
No, Garceau leaned on him hard.
I was going to say they didn't want him to go, and they pulled him out mid-season.
Yeah, that was Garceau's fault.
I was going to say that's. How does that make a fan base feel when you'd like, and as a player too, you're obviously excited to go to the show, but at the same time, your team is counting on you. I mean, I don't think the Gophers hid the fact that they were a little put off by the fact that the player was pulled mid-season. So I mean, I don't think you can put that back on the player.
Sure, no, you're trying to rationalize it. I think Wild fans hate Nick Leddy just for the fact that we got Cam Barker.
We are talking about fans.
You know, I mean, we got Cam Barker for a guy who Wild fans envisioned him scoring goals, envisioned him being the Eden Prairie hero, you know, and then we got Cam Barker, and Cam Barker didn't care one iota
I think we hate
about
him.
playing
we hate
hockey.
him for reasons beyond that. I think after he left, and he had kind of like the chip on his shoulder, like, you know, look at me now and whatever.
Sure.
And I personally hate him because he played for Eden Prairie and he beat my Hillary Pioneers, but that's beside the point. So.
But you got the last night here on the Islanders. I mean, you've got Brock Nelson leads that team in goals, and Kyle Okposo leads them in assists. So there's definitely some Minnesota kids making big impacts there in New York. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and Leddy's playing good out there. Leddy's also insulated in his situation, but the addition of Leddy and Boychuk has really improved the Islanders' chances of making it out of that division and making a pretty good little run in the East, in the Eastern Conference.
Well, you know what's weird though? When you look at the leading scorers in the league, it's the top is very East intensive. I mean, you got Crosby with 29, Voracek with 29. Then you got Sagan from Dallas is up there, but then Malkin from Pittsburgh, Stamkos from Tampa, Hornquist from Pittsburgh. I mean, you got a lot of Eastern guys. Claude Giroux, Philadelphia. I mean, there are a lot of Eastern guys up there making noise. Phil Kessel.
Well, you're also remembering that those are players from teams that are good in the East, and they're playing a lot of teams that are bad in the East.
Terrible
teams. If you want to skew the stats, if we played Florida and every game, sure. I mean, I'm sure we'd probably have some padded stats too. And even though Tampa Bay, it might not have been characteristic of who they are, we put up 7 goals on Tampa Bay. So in looking at that, that's what you're going to get. If you have blowout wins, you're going to have the goal scorers, you know, that may not be as elite in the West.
Hey, you know, you were talking about last week. You're talking about the Blues goaltending tandem.
Yes.
Why are they interested in Martin Brodeur right now? I mean, they're going to bring on Martin Brodeur at the age of 42. I don't understand that. Did they have an injury that I didn't hear about?
Well, I think maybe the contention there is maybe Jake Allen's not ready. Maybe Brian Elliott's not a true number one. You know, I don't understand.
He did injure his knee Tuesday. Brian Elliott, it says here, did injure his knee Tuesday night and is listed as being out week to week.
Honestly,
so that could be dicey.
From what I've seen from Brodeur, I'd rather have Brizgalov there.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Maybe they're bringing in Brodeur. Maybe they're, maybe it's posturing. I don't know. I personally, I respect the hell out of what Martin Brodeur has done in his career. But I think he's one of those guys where maybe it's time to not tarnish the legacy by playing some mediocre hockey, which he played. I mean, I was at the Devils game last year when he got walked out. He walked straight down the ramp because we put numbers on them. And I am glad that the Wild avoided it and went with Bryzgalov, mostly because we only gave up a 4th rounder, and then obviously on the back end of it, Chuck Fletcher looks like a genius because you get all of that out of Bryzgalov. You get the personality, you get the locker room guy.
It was a humongous big deal.
Humongous big.
That sounds huge.
But I agree. I think is Brodeur just so far consumed with his own narcissism that he feels that he can continue going? I mean, at this point, you're right. Why tarnish the whole New Jersey bit and go play for somebody else? And they don't care about you. You're a Band-Aid. Like, you're coming in as a Band-Aid until their guys are healthy, and then you're going to be tossed aside like an old shirt.
So what's home life like for Brodeur? Is he just got to get out of the house? Is that what this is? I just can't stick around. My wife's driving me nuts. I mean, seriously, hang it up.
Somebody buy him a model or something. It's basically like put something together, or get a hobby.
But you're right though. Why not call Bryzgalov? He's got more tread left on the tire than Brodeur.
A guy dedicates his life though to something. That's your comfort zone, is the locker room, the lifestyle, the travel. It's hard to turn it. Michael Jordan played for the Wizards.
Yeah.
You look at it.
Yeah. And these guys are obviously very competitive.
Played well beyond his expiration, and it was because he was chasing the competition.
Joe Namath played for the Rams.
Yeah.
Jesus. There's a lot of examples.
Brett Favre played a second year for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. You can go on and on with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have done it forever.
O.J. Simpson played for the Niners. Jerry Rice.
Is he playing for the penitentiary league?
Sure.
I'm sure.
California penal.
He's going to be in the next The Longest Yard.
O.J. Simpson is playing spades, eating a bologna sandwich.
Spades is a big game in the joint.
Spades?
I don't know how to play.
Dictates. Oh, you got to play.
But or just stay out of the joint.
Or just stay out of the joint, exactly.
I think I'd just prefer to stay out of lockup, if that's okay
Sure.
with you, Tony.
Wow.
That's the direction I'd prefer to go. Hey,
I would want in on the games, but I'd tell them I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Florida's not a good team. But how great was it to see the Wild just jump in there and own that game?
Man, what I love about what's taking place right now is you got guys like Nino Niederreiter and Jason Zucker getting the opportunity to be the number one scoring option, scoring goals, being excited, creating excitement on the ice, and making sure that when they're on the ice, you have to account for them. I think that opens up different options. We need to get both of those guys on the power play. Maybe our guy, Andrew Brunette, adjusts what they have going on so that it's not a bunch of fancy passes and 2 minutes expiring without much more than a flip shot into the goalie's chest.
I said they should have put Jason Zucker on the power play weeks ago. I will pull back up the podcast and prove it because I said the guy's got some sizzle and he shoots the puck in the goal.
Marksman.
And the goal he scored in Florida,
nice.
it was a goal because he finished his check. Able to have Koivu get the puck, feed it to him. He walked out front and did a nasty backhand. There was nothing like.
And he made Luongo look like an old man.
And I love beating Luongo because we used to beat up on him here.
He hates
I remember
it
a time that he didn't even play when Vancouver came here because he was so bad.
Yep.
But that's the point. If Jason Zucker is doing the things that he needs to do to get those opportunities, then so be it. That's why he's getting rewarded for that kind of. Play. And same thing with Nino. Nino rushed down on the goal that was a highlight reel, and he didn't quit. He stuck with it and scored that goal that he shouldn't have, and nobody else on the roster probably should have scored that goal. But the point being is these guys are doing the right things in order to get that opportunity. If you're going to stand around and hopefully the puck comes to your stick and you're standing at the goal mouth, you're not doing the right things. You're just waiting for opportunity and possibly just a puck to go off your stick and get a goal. Do the work if you want the reward.
Both those kids are aggressive and advantageous, and I think that's something that the Wild fans have been starving for. I think that they're going to drive production. A lot of tonight will be on, whether these guys show up against a bigger team in the LA Kings who they're going to look to pound on us. They're going to look to lean on us. They're going to use their size. They scored shorthanded goals against us in the game that we outplayed them in LA, and they got a great performance out of Jonathan Quick. It'll be interesting to see if the Wild beat him tonight. To beat him, you usually got to go high. We saw a lot of high shots, people trying to get one over his shoulder. guys with hands that can do that. Jason Zucker, Zach Parise, Nino Niederreiter.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back and look at tonight's opponent, the Los Angeles Kings. It's a Wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show.
You know, folks who've listened to the show, they know that I lived in the Uptown area here, right down Pleasant Avenue, as a matter of fact, and on the corner of Pleasant Lake is where Uptown Pond is. And I have been here numerous times, had numerous business dealings with them. It's just a nice place with good, honest people. Bob Jacobson, the owner, you run the place. You've always been good to me.
Thanks, Jeff. We try. That's part of our business. We're here to help people, and so everybody walks in the door. We hope we can help.
Well, what I've always appreciated is when people are nice to people who are the low man on the totem pole. Like when I was a bat boy, I liked the star guys who were nice to the bat boy. Right. And I mean, I came in here and you guys didn't know who I was. You didn't know I had a radio show, and you treated me great. I mean, just a guy up the street.
Listen, that's the idea with I think a smaller family type business. Somebody walks in the door. We don't want to let them see everybody gets treated the same way, and we hope that's the case. And we don't want to see them leave without. We try our very best.
It's really easy. It's easy. It's low pressure. Good, honest people. Right on the corner of Lake Street and Pleasant Avenue. You guys got to check out Uptown Pond.
Hey, a couple other things I'd like to mention before we get back into the NHL conversation here on a Wild Wednesday. The Justin Morneau coat drive is taking place. It's going on right now, as a matter of fact. Coats will be distributed by the Salvation Army Harbor Lights Center in Minneapolis. So stop by there if you can. The Salvation Army Harbor Lights Center in Minneapolis. Anyone who donates a coat receives Justin Morneau personally autographed photo. If you donate 3 or more coats, then you receive a ticket to meet Justin Morneau in person. That's at Fan HQ on November 29th. Not to mention it's a great cause. A lot of folks cold out there in the winter months. Donate coats at the Minneapolis Salvation Army Harbor Lights Center. Also, a lot of stuff going on in the Alive and social network.
We've got ourselves a captive audience here. We need to tell them about it.
Well, it's pretty cool that we got a lot of people here, going to the Wild game tonight, checking out Wild Wednesday. But you also have a Minnesota Pubcast coming up right after this show.
Yes,
Jason
sir.
McGovern.
And we are going to talk. I'm going to give my perspective on the Ferguson thing, and this will not be over the speakers, so none of you will have to deal with politics. This is going to be a wild thing while you're here for this. But we'll talk a little bit of the Ferguson thing. I got a little bit of a different take than you and Julius did last night. And then, we have so many new shows that we need to talk about. Suhan and the
you got Suhan
live
Unfiltered.
karaoke.
Check out Jim Suhan at SuhanUnfiltered.com. Check out the Rusty Gatenby Show, RustyGatenbyReview.com. You have a live band karaoke. You get to stand in front. I mean, people like to sing. They go do the karaoke thing. This is with a live band behind you. So you're actually on a stage fronting a band. And that's
I've been
Friday
getting
nights at
nothing
O'Gara's.
but awesome reviews. My friends went last week. They said it was great.
Friday nights at O'Gara's. It's just a fantastic thing. It's your chance to stand on stage and front a band, basically. It's live band karaoke. Wednesday nights, that would be tonight. There'll be at Shamrocks for a live music review. It's The Last Ride is the band that is featured. And that's just a fantastic live music showcase every Wednesday. Have I forgotten any show? Have I left anyone out yet? I think I've hit them all.
we got them all.
I think I've hit them all. And then, of course,
there's the new one, the women's business show. I can't think of the name of right now. There's a new show we just added last week.
Okay.
Well, go to aliveandsocial.com. It'll tell you all the details.
Yep. Look,
I hope people realize I'm a St. Paul guy. I grew up in St. Paul. I live in St. Paul. Alive and Social is doing something phenomenal. Up and down West 7th Street, O'Gara's, just great shows. The Minnesota Pubcast.
Shamrocks.
A blast to be on. I got to participate in a conversation with Jason and Molly. Just an awesome show. It covers stuff other than hockey. My wife was like, I don't want to listen to you talk about hockey because hockey takes away from my time. I had her listen to the Minnesota Pubcast. She thought it was hilarious. I bagged on her a little bit. I cried in the basement. Everything was good.
I love that that's your go-to, crying in the basement.
It really is. It is his go-to. Hey, guys, let's talk a little bit about tonight's opponent, the LA Kings. The Wild played a fantastic game in LA earlier this year. I mean, dominated. They didn't have an edge of play. The Wild dominated the Kings in that game. And Quick absolutely stole one from him. I mean, it was just a frustrating game where a goaltender stood on his head and was absolutely the difference. So tonight you get LA. You get let me take a look at some numbers here. You got Jeff Carter leads the team with 18 points. You got Tanner Pearson, of all people, leads the team with 9 goals. Tell me who the hell Tanner Pearson is.
I have no idea, but I think Marianne is going to be back tonight, which we didn't get to face him in LA, so we get to see the Marianne Gabrick.
Yeah. Frosted tips.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
And all with his life-size race car game. And So I mean, he's always a threat, and obviously has nestled in well with the LA Kings. I gotta take a side topic. It's Keith Ballard's birthday today. He's a big 3-2, and he's going to be playing in his 600th NHL game.
Wow, that's
so there's a fun fact, and I will be the first to say I really was down on his play, and he has turned it around.
Has he?
Quite.
Because he took 3 penalties in the last game.
He's trying to bring an edge to his game. I don't necessarily think that it's working out completely, but he is trying to do something as far as like bringing a higher aggressive nature to his game. And yes, he has pulled some penalties. I don't think really he should be fighting, but he's playing a better brand of hockey, I think.
Well, is this a result of having to earn a roster spot or a lineup spot? Because you've got a depth, you got some depth on the blue line. You got to earn your way into that lineup now.
I think the best thing that Keith Ballard has done this year is that hip check against the Jets. That was my favorite moment of Keith Ballard this season. I think he's been up and down a little bit. I think he's also a guy that's playing third pair. So it's limited minutes. As I bag on a guy on his birthday, like what an internet savage. You know, if I got hit by that hip check, I'd probably melt. I'd be out for
You'd be
months.
crying in your basement for sure.
You know, the Tanner Pearson that you mentioned, that's that 70s line that started out the hottest line in hockey. That was Pearson, Jeff Carter, and the other kid, Toffoli. That line is what beat us in LA. They're bigger, they're skilled. They bang bodies around.
I don't like Jeff Carter. I don't know what it is. I just don't like to look at him.
Sure.
Like I see him and I just want to hit him. Is that bad? I mean, he just has like that face that I'd like to see somebody put against the glass.
Well, and Jeff Carter doesn't care because he's collecting all of the money, he's scoring all of the goals.
I'm sure he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care at all. What do you say?
Jeff Carter also was the one that he's the one that took a run at Christian Folin when Folin put who did he put sideways? Their center.
Stoll?
Kopitar.
Oh, okay.
He put Andrzej Kopitar sideways into the bench, and Jeff Carter ate a couple Folin uppercuts after taking a run at him. You know, Drew Doughty's probably the best defenseman in hockey, I think, now.
He's still behind Suter as far as minutes. Suter rolling the 29 minutes and 13 seconds average per game versus Drew's 28 minutes and 58 seconds.
I'm eager for Jonas Brodin to get back. When Jonas Brodin's in the lineup playing with Suter, Spurgeon's playing with Scandella, the Wild has a top 4 that's comparable to any in the league. Especially, we've seen Scandella at times this year, and even dating back to last year. I was in the building when Scandella scored a blast from the blue line and broke the Blackhawks' heart. I mean, it was a pivotal game down the stretch. Scandella scored an overtime winner. Scandella, he's leading the Wild in penalty minutes because he's looked to be a little bit more physical. He's looked to do a little bit more with Nate Prosser being his pair rather than Jared Spurgeon. When this team gets Brodin back, I think they're going to be able to play with anybody on any given night.
What is they go through some of these injury situations right now? I mean, when are we looking to get some guys back?
Well, we finally found out Cook has that hip flexor, which it took forever.
That was a mystery for weeks.
It took forever for that to come out, and it came out that he hurt it in the second game of the season at the Avalanche. But he continued to play on it, and obviously I'm sure just aggravated it because he didn't want to come out.
Kind of like the Parisi thing with the concussion.
Yeah, but so and he's been out for 12 games. I mean, 12 games is substantial. But obviously, any sort of leg injury is touchy, especially depending on your skating stride. If you're gonna re-aggravate it, you have to wait until it's fully healed. And as I explained before the show, I think he is back on the ice in a tracksuit. I said without gear before, but he's in a tracksuit skating around, at least trying to get some.
I'm picturing like the closing scene of Slapshot, with
Ned Braden just skating around the ice with his jock on,
or like a French Canadian mob hitman. Like that's what he looks like. He looks like he's an enforcer for the French Canadian mob.
So I mean so at least that's positive. And Brodin with another player of ours with a case of the mumps he is getting back on the right track. So we should be 100% healthy, hopefully here, coming up on the horizon.
Did they ever actually figure out what that was? I mean, it was always said it was mump-like symptoms, but did they ever figure out if they actually had the mumps?
It's not even just the Wild.
No, it was out in Anaheim, right?
Well, and the Blues had it really bad. I mean,
okay.
but both teams played out there. So I mean, something going on with that. And the team has been vaccinated, I believe, twice for that, to make sure that, they're trying to, put a lid on it. But obviously that type of a virus or illness that is not something that you can, just put a Band-Aid on or an ace wrap or whatever. It's something that really knocks players down, because what have we had, 3 or 4 guys now that have been out with this, with this exact thing?
The other reality is Brodeen gets targeted for physical play, especially since he's so effective carrying the puck, and he's so capable of making the last-second move and avoiding a big hit, which allows him to extend the possession, get it going the other way. He was banged up before this mumps-like Ebola that he has, so I think they're giving him some extra time to heal up. He obviously wasn't 100%. He had an injury to his hand. He took a huge hit from Kreider in that New York game. He took a couple big hits, I think, in Montreal. I know the Jets targeted him with some physical play too, and he's a guy that he needs to be healthy, because he was driving possession. He was getting a little bit more offensive. He was shooting, and towards the end, before he went out of the lineup, he was doing the bare minimum with the stick handling. He was mostly carrying it out, dishing it off to guys. You didn't see a lot of shots from him, and it was because I think his right hand was hurt.
I mean, I'll be the first to say, though, I'm biased because I love Spurge, but there has been a serious change since he has come back in the lineup. I think that the team has been playing well, and far better from when he was gone. And he's just one guy, but I think he does solidify, the back end quite a bit better, because he does have both defensive responsibility. He's good at quarterbacking the breakout. He's good at bringing the offense as far as shooting from the point or rushing in if he needs to with if he needs to go deep and get the tap in. But that type of play is noticeable in how the team as a whole has been playing.
Hey, let's look at the schedule coming up, because it's from Thanksgiving to Christmas. It's kind of a bear. From here you go to Dallas, come home for St. Louis, then you're home for Montreal, you're home for Anaheim, you're home for the Islanders. All good teams. Then you go to San Jose, to Arizona, to Chicago, and then you're home for Boston and Nashville. And then you have a game against Philly. But I think Philly's the only team with a losing record between now and and Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. It's a tough stretch.
And that's not a problem. That's not a problem. I guess I'm fine with playing any of those teams if we're playing our game. If we can continue balancing the puck possession, balancing the offense. Obviously, I would like to see more goal scoring beyond the likes of Parisi, Pominville, Nino, and Zucker. To get more people involved would be great. I think that was what we started out the year with, is having the distribution of goals throughout all 4 lines. If we can continue that and continue the puck possession, there's no team in the league that I'm afraid of playing.
That schedule is good news, bad news, because we just got our first win in however many games in Dallas, so then now, maybe we can start a trend of success there. But then you're playing 3 very, very good, probably playoff caliber teams, but at least you're playing them at home. Traveling in the NHL, traveling in any professional sport sucks in general around the holiday times. So at least these guys are at home. I think that adds an advantage to a very tough stretch of games. The Sharks in Arizona are the 2 down teams out of that group too.
Are we expecting the Sharks to come back around a little bit? Are they actually not as bad as their record says? Or are they the Sharks, San Jose? Or do they just suck?
The Sharks did a weird thing. They blamed everything on the players. They didn't fire the coach. They didn't fire the GM. And then they didn't get rid of any of the players. So they stripped the captain from Jumbo Joe Thornton, and they don't trade anybody. So I'm not sure what their strategy was. They basically alienated their team. They had an epic playoff meltdown, and then they didn't change the group at all. They moved Burns to defense. That's what they did.
Yeah, which I like him back there.
Well, but early in the season, it was working. It was almost like the stripping of the C, and the fact that there was no captain, whatever, kind of unified the team, because in the short term, they did come out of the gates very strong, and they were one of the last teams to have a regulation loss. So, every team goes through it, but the Sharks came down to earth a little bit. I would say that Nashville is due to come back down to earth a little bit, but I'm not afraid of playing the Sharks. I mean, I don't think they have any elite goaltending, and I think that they can be exposed very easily.
Hey, we got a contest winner here for a $25 gift card for retweeting the show. I hope it pronounced this right. Scott Arundel. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it.
Scott Arundel. Yeah, that seems right.
So congratulations, Scott. Thanks for retweeting the show.
Come on over to the table and grab your gift card.
We got a $25 gift card for you, Scott. Scott Arundel. So anyway, guys, here we are. About a couple months in, we've got the holidays coming up. You got a pretty good stretch of competition. Overall, satisfied, happy, concerned with where the Wild are right now. I mean, a couple teams ahead of them in the standings you wouldn't expect, but they also have a couple games in hand on a couple of those teams. I mean, sitting fifth in the division isn't exactly catbird seat, but it's also no panic. But just your overall impressions on where they are right now as we close the show here in a few minutes.
I've been very appreciative of what's been taking place recently, and in general that there's a lot of consistency with these younger players. So, maybe Granlund isn't playing his best hockey right now, but he's been playing enough to be our number one center. You got a lot of good signs out of Nito Niederreiter, Jason Zucker. You have depth in this lineup. Matt Dumba stayed on the team. I think this team only gets stronger over the season as they figure out who to play with who plays in what roles, and then they commit to, this is our scorer, this is our guys that are going to be on the penalty kill. I think that they're a deep team, and I think that they make a run to the playoffs.
I would say that the beginning of the season was obviously an odd start considering the length of time that they had between games, which I think did mess with things a little bit. Some injuries that we had contributing to a few things, with Parisi, with the mumps that have gone through, with the injury to Spurgeon and the injury to Cook. I mean, we have some injuries, not dissimilar to other teams, but they are fairly significant injuries. And I think we can get everybody back together, back healthy, and back on the game they started with in the beginning of the season. We're going to be just fine. In looking at the standings, I don't think they're representative of what the Wild are, but it's just going to take a little more time and a little more more games to really pan out and iron out what the league is and who deserves to be towards the top.
Predictions for tonight. Brief.
Wild win 4-2.
I'm gonna go with Wild win in a shootout.
Ooh, that's a very specific prediction. With Koivu getting the decider on the backhand roof.
I don't know if I'd go that far. But, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see Zucker score on the shootout personally, but
have they used him in one yet?
No,
I don't think I've seen him in a shootout.
Shootout lineup is Parise, Koivu, Pominville.
And after that, I don't know how. I mean, we've never.
I have no problem with that lineup for the shootout.
Nope. Well, those are your veteran guys too. Yo will always defer to his veteran guys. He'll always be a guy that avoids at all costs slighting them unless it's the point of no return.
Especially
let's say you get into extra rounds of a shootout, and you need a goal to extend it. Who do you go, Zucker or Vanek?
Finish
Zucker
Jesus.
Or Vanek?
I go finish Jesus. Finish Jesus.
That wasn't one of the choices.
No, I go Zucker all day.
All right.
I would have gone Zucker too.
Yeah. All right. We're happy.
He's younger. He's got more razzle dazzle.
Well, that's going to do it for a Wild Wednesday on the Jeff Dubay Show. Again, coming up right after the show is a Minnesota Pubcast live from Burger Mo's. Thanks to Burger Mo's for being great hosts again, and also for hooking up a listener with the $25 gift card. We'll be back next Wednesday again.
Montreal Canadiens.
From Burger Mo's, and we'll be doing the pregame for the Montreal Canadiens game, December 3rd.
My name is Tony Dean. You can find me at Hockey Buzz. Please join the Hockey Buzz community. My Twitter handle is Tony Dean HB. And also follow Wild Wednesday JD. That's our Wild Wednesday show Twitter handle. And you can follow the Hockey Buzz community, all one word.
Outstanding.
You can pretty much find me at Burger Mo's.
Follow Scott Schweitz. Follow Jason McGovern on Twitter.
Absolutely. For Jason McGovern, for Scott Schweitz, for Tony Dean, I'm Jeff Dubay. This has been a Wild Wednesday, and the Vancouver Canucks can still suck it.